One of the more interesting questions I'm asked at like cocktail parties or out at the bar or something like that, when people are talking to me and they find out I'm a lawyer, a lot of times somebody will ask me if somebody breaks into your house at, 2 o'clock in the morning, whether or not you can shoot them in self-defense here in Arizona. And the short answer is yes, you can. Short answer is you have an absolute right to self-defense in your home, and that's commonly called the Castle Doctrine. And essentially, your home gives you the best protection possible when it comes to your physical safety. And so, yeah, somebody's in your house, you can deal with it. Now, it's not as black and white as I make it sound, but there's a lot of factors that go into it, and it's always a pretty fact-intensive situation. And you have to understand like where the person is. If the person is outside, like yelling and hasn't came in the house, you can't shoot them. If the person comes inside and then they run outside and they're out in the yard, you can't run outside and shoot them. You have to be in fear for your life, essentially. And and again, but it's not as you don't have to prove as much as you're in fear for your life as you would outside the home. Essentially, inside your home, they presume that you're afraid for your life, and then it's up to the state to overcome that burden of that you weren't. And there's some other reason why they should prosecute. And again, and like I said, I compare that, inside the house, the Castle Doctrine, to outside, say, in the parking lot of a bar. In the parking lot of a bar, you can't just shoot somebody if they're trying to fight you with their fist. In the self-defense, there has to be a, reasonable expectation of serious bodily harm, and the force that you use to respond has to be equal, kind of in terms of what you address it with. So it's like, fist for a fist, knife for a knife, gun for a gun, that type of stuff. That's how regular self-defense is outside the house. And it's a lot harder too. It's a lot harder to prove the self-defense when you're outside the home than it is in your house. So, and Arizona is good. Arizona has a good self-defense law. We have a good Castle Doctrine law. Arizona has a good, especially like I said, if somebody comes in your house, it's presumed. And again, the point of that is, from a lawyer's point of view, as a criminal defense lawyer, um, you want to have all those facts in place so that the prosecutor doesn't file charges, or the prosecutor drops the charges. You want to have all the good facts showing that you're afraid for your life, and so your lawyer can get the case dropped. And that's part of being a good lawyer, is that you can pick up the phone and get bad cases dismissed without going through the system. And that's kind of the difference between, like I always say, difference between like book law and real life law. Yeah, in book law, or I'll start with real life. Real life law, again, you pick up the phone, you try to get the case dismissed for all the facts that are in the case, and you basically tell the prosecutor they'll never be able to prove their case, and they should drop the case. And most of the time they do if it's legit. Now that's in contrast to, like I said, in book law, or theory law, or outside law, I should say. People who've never been to trial, never been in the court system, they always have that like saying where it's what is it? I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by six. That type of stuff, meaning that you'd rather be in front of a jury telling the jury what you did in self-defense versus being dead and having six people carry your casket. Again, that's not real life. That's theory, theory stuff. And the reason why it is because you don't want to be in a situation where you're in front of the jury making these arguments that you are afraid for your life, and here's the reasons why you're afraid for your life, the objective standards, whatever. You want to have that nipped in the bud way earlier, before the indictment, and all that. So again, if you have a real case of, self-defense, it's not going to be pursued. I know on the internet anyway, there's always been, even outside the internet, the gun rights people, gun rights advocates, all the Second Amendment advocates, they do give some instruction on how to deal with a home invader, and using your gun in self-defense. They tell you kind of like what to say and things to keep in mind. Obviously, and again, the more facts you have to show that you are afraid for your life or your family's life, the better off you're going to be. And if you, I think one of the statements that they say, or one of the things that they say, if you're going to give a statement when the police come out there, you want to give a lot of good facts showing that you're afraid. And if they have like video, if you have home surveillance, stuff like that, all that'll help you. Again, like I said, for not to not even be charged with the homicide. Um, and so, but again, all that'll come into play. So that's your self-defense, and your self-defense is the strongest inside your own home. And especially here in Arizona, your home is your castle essentially. But anyway, so that's one of the things that I don't see that a lot. I didn't see that a lot as a criminal defense lawyer. You didn't really get a lot of cases where there was a home invasion and somebody had to protect themselves and their families. Um, but again, I'm sure it happens, and the law is in your favor as the homeowner when it comes to that, as opposed to, like I said, being outside. Like I said, the bar parking lot, the laws, I mean, you have a self-defense, but it's much harder to establish than inside your house. So anyways, I hope that was interesting to you. Anyway, like I said, that's more like one of those cocktail party type questions I get. What can you do if somebody comes into your house? That's one of those. So more just for your information or entertainment, I should say. Anyways, again, my name is Derron Woodfork. I'm an attorney here in Scottsdale. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. My email is DerronW, that's DERRONW at MSN.com. You can check out my website, that's woodforklaw.com, WOODFORKLAW.com. And I'll have all that stuff in here in my description of the video. And thanks for watching. Please like the video and please subscribe to the channel. And thanks. All right.